Girl, episode 7 of the Gilded Age season 3 just flipped everything we thought we knew upside down. Relationships are on the edge, secrets are bubbling up, and the stakes higher than ever. If you thought the drama peaked in episode 6, baby, you haven't seen anything yet, because this is where alliances crack, love gets tested. And Bertha Russell does something none of us saw coming. So let's get into it, because this episode had my jaw on the damn floor. First of all, let's talk about Duchess Gladys Russell. She is officially stepping into her power, and honestly, she's doing it with more confidence than anyone expected the moment she started standing up to Lady Sarah. We knew she was onto something, but now, she's not just surviving this marriage, she's starting to run it. Walking through those gardens with the Duke in this episode wasn't just a romantic stroll, y'all. That was Gladys showing us that she's learning how to play the role of a duchess. And not just play it, master it, you can see it in her eyes. She's not just trying to win over the Duke, she's trying to secure her place in this world. And if I'm being real, I think she might just succeed. The girl who once cried over social rejection is now casually charming a man with a title and land, and doing it like she was born for it. But while Gladys figuring out her place in London high society, everything in New York is slowly unraveling. Let's start with George Russell. The man is used to winning, but in this episode, the walls are officially closing in. JP Morgan summoned him like royalty to rescue the Illinois Central line, like literally pulled him away from his own chaos to fix somebody else's. But things spiral quickly when financial leaks start hitting the press. The stock tanks, investors pull out, and George, he is spiraling. You know it's bad when he says he should have had Clay killed, and honestly, it didn't sound like a joke. That's how deep this betrayal cut. Because Clay, the man who once served George loyally, is now out here playing both sides, whispering secrets to Sage and pulling strings like he owns the chessboard. Now here's where it gets messier. George needs to act fast, but every bank is turning their back on him. New York, done. London, not happening. The financial elite are treating George like a walking disease. And what's wild is that George refuses to make a deal with Clay, even if it could save his company. Like I said, Russell's run on pride, not logic. And Bertha, she's watching all of this like a hawk. You know she doesn't like feeling powerless, and yet that's exactly where the situation is pushing her. With the empire she helped build starting to crack, Bertha is desperate to do something, but what? And while this financial war is unfolding, Larry is out in Arizona trying to strike gold literally. Turns out, copper mining deals could be the family's saving grace. If Larry can lock this in, the Russells just might have a way out. But you already know this family can't have one win without something crashing right after. Because the moment Larry steps back into New York with the good news, he gets hit with a letter from Marian. And let me tell you, that letter wrecks him. The smile he had walking up those stairs? Gone in 1 second. He goes from hopeful son to heartbroken man. Marian broke off the engagement. Just like that. And even if you think Larry deserved it for lying about Ma, that moment still hits. You could see in his face he thought he was coming home to share good news and build a future, but Marian's not having it. She made her decision, and baby, she's sticking to it. After Mr. Rakes, she swore she wouldn't get played again, and when she saw Larry hiding the truth about Ma's return, that was enough. She's triggered, she's hurt, and she's done. But here's where the suspense kicks in. Larry starts questioning his own mother. Yep. He straight up asks Bertha if she had anything to do with Marian's sudden change of heart, and honestly, it's not that wild of a question. We've seen Bertha move mountains to control Gladys' future. So who's to say she wouldn't interfere here too? Bertha is shocked, though, like genuinely caught off guard. She insists she did nothing. But even George hits her with that icy line, because we know what you're capable of. And let's be real, that line, that hit hard, because he's not lying. Bertha is capable of manipulation, scheming, and control. So the question is, did she? And while that bomb is exploding, Marian's still struggling emotionally. She might be standing strong on the outside, telling Peggy that there's nothing left to talk about with Larry, but girl, she is crushed. You can see the pain behind every word. She truly loved him, and yes, he made a mistake. But you can't ignore the heartbreak in her eyes. So what now? Is she really done? Or is someone going to get through to her before it's too late? Because here's the twist I wasn't ready for. Bertha might be the one to fix it. The trailer made it seem like Bertha's starting to realize just how deep her influence has cut into her family. She's lost their trust. Gladys resents her. Larry suspects her. George questions her. And for a woman like Bertha Russell, that is the ultimate nightmare. So maybe, just maybe, she's about to flip the script, not as the meddler, but as the healer. Could we be stepping into Bertha's redemption arc? And just when you think the drama couldn't get heavier, Oscar's storyline comes crashing down like a hammer. In case you forgot, last episode ended with John Adams being hit by a carriage, and now Confirmed, John is dead, gone, and Oscar? He is wrecked because John wasn't just his partner, he was his protector, his hope, and maybe even his second chance at love. And the worst part? That accident didn't feel like an accident. That carriage didn't even try to slow down, which makes you wonder, was it intentional? Now listen, I haven't stopped thinking about John's death since that trailer dropped. Because the way it happened, too sudden, too clean, too damn suspicious. One second he's comforting Oscar, the next he's lying lifeless in the street. And the moment that really punched me in the gut, Oscar's reaction. That man didn't just lose a friend, he lost the one person who saw him for who he truly was. And let's not forget what John said before it all went down, "You were my savior." That wasn't just a throwaway line, y'all. That was John telling Oscar, "You gave me something I never had, freedom." And now Oscar's standing there with nothing but grief and guilt and maybe, just maybe, a pile of questions about whether John was taken from him on purpose. Because let's be honest, Oscar has enemies, his name carries weight, his past is full of secrets. And the wrong person finding out about his relationship with John could have made this carriage accident happen real fast. So if this death wasn't random, we might be entering a whole new level of drama in the Gilded Age 1, where we're not just dealing with heartbreak and power struggles, but actual danger. And that changes everything. Oscar, for once, might be pushed to fight back, not just emotionally, but publicly. And if he inherits John's fortune like the rumors say, baby, this man could rise from the ashes like nobody else on this show. But while Oscar's heartbreak takes center stage, the rest of New York is spiraling with scandal too. Because the gossip train is out of control and now it's crashing straight through the most elite social circles. Word is spreading, secrets are leaking, and the creme de la creme are starting to panic. But you already know who I'm side-eyeing, Ms. Andre. Like, girl, don't act innocent. You're the only one consistently lurking in the right rooms at the right times. Who else has access to all this juicy info and a reason to spill it? She's Bertha's maid. But let's not forget, she's been listening, watching, and reporting since day one. And I get it, servants always know more than they let on, but Miss Andre? She's different. Something about the way she moves feels too calculating, too sharp. Like she's playing a game we haven't even fully clocked yet, and if it is her leaking to the press, that means every character's dirty laundry could hit the front page at any moment. Marian's heartbreak, Gladys' rocky Duchess journey, George's financial ruin? All of it could become public knowledge. And you know what that means. Reputations will be shredded, alliances will crumble, and the entire social order could collapse. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Bertha starts investigating this herself. She might be under fire from her family right now, but that woman doesn't stay down for long. Once she realizes someone's threatening her empire from the shadows, it's game on. And let's talk about that fire still burning between Marian and Larry, because even though she says it's over, we know better. That kind of love doesn't just disappear overnight. Especially not after everything they've been through. But girl, she is hurt. She trusted Larry with her heart. And the moment she saw him lie, even if it wasn't malicious, her walls went straight back up. And that's what makes this story so frustratingly real. Marian's not being dramatic. She's reacting like a woman who's been burned before. And even though her reaction feels fast and final, it's coming from a place of deep pain. She's not just ending an engagement, she's trying to protect her peace. And honestly, I respect it. But the question is, can Larry win her back? Because right now, he's caught between business chaos and emotional wreckage. If he doesn't move fast, both could fall apart. He already lost Marian's trust. If Bertha doesn't step in and help him mend it, then this relationship might really be done. And let me tell you, I need Bertha to rise to the occasion here. I need her to stop scheming and start fixing. Because if she can help Marian see the truth that Larry made a mistake but still loves her, maybe, just maybe, they have a shot at healing. Now let's talk about George, because this man, he's losing everything and he still won't bend. That pride is deep, even with the Illinois Central line in flames, his company hemorrhaging money, and the family legacy dangling by a thread. George refuses to compromise. And what makes it worse, he's alone in that mindset. His investors have bailed, his allies are gone. Even his wife and son are starting to question if he's lost control. This isn't just about business anymore, it's about identity. George Russell built an empire with his own hands, and now that it's slipping away, he doesn't know who he is without it. That desperation, it's showing, and it's dangerous. Because when powerful men feel cornered, they do reckless things, and George, he's cornered. So don't be surprised if in the next episode, we see him take a risky step, one that either saves everything or burns it all to the ground. And Bertha, she's not gonna sit by and watch it happen. Not when her status, her security, and her family's entire future is on the line. Remember, this woman fought tooth and nail to get into the elite circles. She didn't build this life just to let it fall apart. So expect her to make a move, one that could shock everyone. Even George, and don't think I forgot about Agnes. Because as usual, she's in the corner throwing icy comments and judging everyone, but deep down, she's playing the long game. When Marian came to her with the breakup news, Agnes didn't hide her satisfaction. She lives for this kind of drama, but don't let her smugness fool you. Agnes knows that one wrong scandal could stain her precious family name, and if the gossip about Marian, Gladys, or Oscar spreads too far, she'll be the first one to step in, not out of kindness, but out of control. She doesn't love these people, but she hates public embarrassment more. The power dynamics in this episode were wild. Bertha's influence is slipping, George is spiraling, Marian shutting down, Oscar's grieving, Larry's scrambling, Gladys rising. And the pressure cooker is about to explode. Every single character is standing at a crossroad, and the next move they make will define everything. Will Bertha redeem herself and bring the family back together? Will Larry fix his mess before it's too late? Will George save the business? Or watch it burn? And who's leaking all these secrets that could tear the whole system down? One thing about the Gilded Age, it knows how to layer tension like a slow-burning fire. And in episode 7, every little flicker of drama felt like it was building toward a full-blown explosion. Take Bertha. For example, we've seen her operate in full beast mode before, strategic, icy, and unstoppable, but this episode was different. For the first time in a long while, she looked shaken, not by society, not by the old money elite, but by her own family. When George questioned her about interfering in Larry's relationship with Marian, and Larry flat out accused her of manipulating the breakup, you could see the cracks. That armor she's worn so confidently all season, it's slipping. Because even if she didn't do anything this time, her past schemes have caught up with her. And that's the kicker, Bertha didn't need to lift a finger, people believed. She did because of who she's been. That's the cost of playing puppet master for too long. No one trusts you when you finally keep your hands clean. And for Bertha, who's used to commanding respect through calculated control, that's a brutal wake-up call. What do you do when the power you built turns into suspicion? When your family stops seeing you as the glue and starts viewing you as the threat? I think this is the start of a major turning point for her. She can either double down and go full villain, or she can step back, reflect, and rebuild those bridges. And something about the way she reacted in this episode tells me she might actually choose growth this time. Meanwhile, Gladys is becoming a force of her own. Remember how unsure and awkward she was at the beginning of the season? Well, that girl is gone. The woman we're watching now? She's learning how to move with elegance and intention. She's not just reacting to things anymore, she's steering them. In this episode, you could feel the shift in her confidence. The way she carried herself with the Duke, the way she gently challenged traditions, and the way she now holds space in a world that once intimidated her. And it's not just about marriage, it's about identity. Gladys is starting to see herself as more than just Bertha's daughter or someone's wife. She's crafting her own narrative, one choice at a time. But don't think it's smooth sailing for her. Because let's be real, just because she's adjusting doesn't mean she's safe. That aristocratic world is still full of snakes in gowns, and while Lady Sarah might have backed off for now, we all know that kind of venom doesn't stay quiet for long. There's a storm coming for Gladys, and whether or not she's ready to face it will say everything about the woman she's becoming. Now let's shift back to Larry, because his emotional state in this episode? The man is drowning. On one side, he's dealing with the fallout from Marian, heartbreak, shame, confusion on the other. He's juggling this high-stakes mining deal in Arizona that could literally save his entire family's fortune. And yet, the moment he gets home, he loses the one person who actually gave him peace. You can tell he was holding onto that letter from Marian like it was poison. Reading it crushed him, and I get it, he messed up, he lied, but watching him realize he broke something he might never be able to fix, that was heavy. What's worse is how alone he suddenly feels. Bertha's being accused of interference, George is consumed with his own financial war, Gladys off being a duchess, and Larry, he's in the middle of it all, trying to carry the weight of a family legacy while processing a breakup that shattered him. It's no wonder he's starting to question everything, including whether he even wants to be part of the Russell Empire. Because think about it, what has this name actually given him? Yes, wealth, yes, power, but happiness, authentic love, trust, not really. And you can feel him asking himself, is this who I want to be? But here's the irony, Larry might actually be the only one who can save them. That copper deal, it's not just a side hustle. It could become the foundation of a whole new chapter for the Russells if he can lock it in. They won't need JP Morgan or the New York banks, or any of the social circles trying to ice them out. But if he's too distracted by emotional wounds, or worse, if he starts to doubt himself, that opportunity could slip through his fingers. So now, Larry's not just fighting for Marian or for his family's approval, he's fighting to find his own strength. And I don't know about you, but I want him to win. Over in the Van Rian household, things are as cold as ever, but beneath the surface, there's some serious plotting going on. Agnes is acting like everything's under control, but deep down, she senses the shift. She might pretend not to care about Marian's romantic troubles, but let's be honest, Agnes lives for control, and if Marian's heartbreak becomes a scandal, that affects her, that stains the Van Rian name, so don't be surprised if Agnes starts pulling strings behind the scenes, even if she acts like she's above it all. She's the queen of icy manipulation. And if she sees an opportunity to fix Marian's mess in a way that benefits her, she'll take it. But let's talk about Marian, because as much as she says she's done, it's clear she's still fighting herself. She wants to move on. She wants to believe that ending it with Larry was the right thing, but when she talks to Peggy, you can hear the hesitation in her voice. She's hurt, but she's not at peace. And honestly, that's the worst kind of heartbreak, the kind where you still love someone, but feel like you can't trust them. She's asking herself the same questions we're all asking. Can people change? Was this just one lie or a sign of a deeper pattern? Can you rebuild trust after it's been broken? And those aren't questions with easy answers. Peggy, ever the voice of reason, is trying to be supportive, but even she looks unsure because she's seen Marian grow. She's seen her go through loss, betrayal, and disappointment, and she knows how much Marian truly wanted this relationship to work. So while she's not pushing her to reconsider, she's also not shutting the door, because she knows Marian has to figure this out on her own terms. And let's be real, Peggy's dealing with her own stuff, too. We didn't see much of her in this episode, but don't forget, she's still juggling her career, her purpose, and her complicated place in this social world. And if the gossip about the Russells spreads far enough, it's only a matter of time before it touches Peggy, too. That's what makes this episode so wild. Every storyline is starting to bleed into the others. The Russells' financial downfall is shaking their family dynamics. Marian's breakup is threatening the Van Rian reputation. Oscar's grief is laced with danger. Gladys' rise is tied to Bertha's fall, and the person pulling the strings in the background? Possibly a maid with a motive. It's chaos, but the kind that feels like it's building towards something massive. Here's the thing, nobody in New York high society wants to admit everything is more fragile than it looks. Behind the pearls, the gowns, the polished dinner parties, there's a quiet panic setting in, and the Gilded Age Season 3 Episode 7 made it clear this world isn't built on wealth or class, it's built on secrets. And right now, those secrets are threatening to rip the whole structure apart. Let's start with the whispers. The press leaks have become more than just background noise, they're turning into weapons. Every time a new headline drops, someone's reputation takes a hit. And if you're paying close attention, you'll notice how careful everyone's becoming. Bertha isn't just worried about her family's financial crisis, she's scanning the room for who's watching, who's listening, because she knows that one wrong move, one overheard conversation, could become the next scandal of the week. And that pressure? It's not just suffocating, it's making everyone paranoid. Especially George. He's always been the kind of man who handles problems with money or muscle. But right now, neither is working. The banks have turned their backs. His political allies are silent, and every day he delays action, the Russell empire loses value. He's still refusing to deal with Clay, and that stubbornness, it's not strength, it's fear disguised as pride. He's scared that if he bends now, everyone will see just how vulnerable he really is, and in George's world, vulnerability is the kiss of death. But what he doesn't realize yet is that sometimes survival means taking the hit and rebuilding, not standing still while everything burns around you. And let's not ignore the tension between George and Bertha, because as much as they love each other, this episode exposed the cracks in their power dynamic. George blames Bertha, whether he says it out loud or not, for the way their children are turning against them, for Gladys' rebellion, for Larry's distrust. And Bertha? She's realizing that all the sacrifices she made marrying for status, strategizing every social move, pushing her kids into perfect lives, they might have cost her the one thing she never wanted to lose, her family's faith in her. But here's where it gets interesting. Bertha's starting to soften, just a little. She's still the same sharp, calculating woman we've known since season 1, but this time, the desperation in her eyes feels different. Not like she's trying to win a social battle, but like she's trying to fix something that actually matters. For once, it's not about climbing, it's about holding on. And if this really is her turning point, then I'm here for it, because a Bertha Russell with a heart? That's just as dangerous as the one with a plan. Meanwhile, the streets are talking. Oscar's name is starting to float around, and the whispers about John's death are growing louder. There's something that doesn't sit right about how quickly it happened, and how quickly it was brushed aside. I'm telling you, that carriage didn't just run wild. Somebody wanted John gone, and Oscar knows it. He's grieving, yes, but he's also watching, listening, calculating. Because the man who used to play games for social gain is now playing for something real, justice. And if it turns out someone in their circle is responsible, Oscar might finally become the kind of man who fights back. And let's not forget what John left behind. If the rumors are true and John transferred his wealth to Oscar before he died, then everything is about to shift. That money gives Oscar power. And in a world where power is everything, that inheritance could make him untouchable. But more than that, it could give him purpose. Because let's be real, Oscar hasn't had much of that. For 2 seasons, he's floated between schemes and flings, trying to find where he fits in a society that barely tolerates him. But now he's got a legacy, a loss that matters, and maybe a mission, and that could turn Oscar from a background character into one of the most important players in the game. Let's check in on Marian because yes, she says she's done with Larry, but y'all, heartbreak doesn't come with a clean exit. She's going through it. The hurt is raw, and you can tell she's replaying everything in her head, every moment of doubt, every lie, every little sign she ignored. She's not just mourning the relationship. She's mourning the future she saw for herself, the home, the family, the security, and above all, the belief that maybe this time she chose someone who could actually be trusted. What makes it worse, Larry hasn't given up. We see it in the way he carries himself, still trying to fix things, still hoping she'll hear him out. But Marian's built a wall, and it's high, so now we're in a standoff to people who still care, to her to meet in the middle. And unless someone steps in, someone like Bertha, this could drag out longer than it should. But even if Bertha does step in, there's no guarantee Marian will listen. Because once trust is broken, words aren't enough, you have to show up different. And Larry? He's running out of time to prove that. Back in Gladys' world, things aren't as rosy as they look either. Yes, she's settling into Duchess life, but that comes with new expectations and new threats. She's learning that every move she makes is being watched, judged, and not just by her husband, but by the entire aristocratic ecosystem. One wrong look, one misstep, and she could be cast out just as fast as she was brought in. And the worst part, she doesn't have anyone to turn to. Her mother's preoccupied with the mess at home, her father's too consumed with saving the company, so Gladys is out there alone navigating a world that was never built for her, and yet, she's holding her own. Even when Lady Sarah tries to throw subtle shade, even when the protocol feels suffocating, even when the pressure threatens to swallow her whole, Gladys stands tall, and that's growth. Because this girl isn't just surviving marriage to a duke, she's learning to become her own kind of royalty, and I have a feeling she's going to be the one to surprise us all. Because while everyone else is stuck in emotional chaos, Gladys the one quietly learning how to win the long game. All of these storylines are pushing towards something explosive. And with Miss Andre still slinking around in the background, watching every twist and turn like a shadow in the corner, I'm telling you there's a bigger betrayal coming, one that nobody will see coming. Because while everyone's busy looking for enemies on the outside, the real danger might already be living under their roof. By the time we reach the second half of episode 7, the entire tone shifts. The energy turns darker, heavier, and more dangerous, and not just emotionally, but socially too. The drama isn't just about breakups or financial ruin anymore, it's about survival. And that changes the way everyone moves. Because now it's not just about who wins, it's about who makes it out of the storm without losing everything. Let's talk about Bertha again. Because girl, this woman is standing in the eye of the hurricane. Her home is no longer her castle, it's a battlefield. Her husband is losing grip on his empire, her children are questioning her motives, and the social circles she fought so hard to be accepted into, they're turning cold. But this episode proves that Bertha isn't just a player, she's a queen. Even when she's cornered, because instead of lashing out, Bertha does something unexpected. She starts trying to heal the very relationships she once tried to control. When Larry accuses her of interfering, you can tell it hits her different this time. She doesn't defend with pride, she responds with pain, and that, more than anything, shows growth. But don't mistake her vulnerability for weakness. Bertha is still sharp, still dangerous, still 5 steps ahead of everyone in the room. And if she truly decides to repair her bond with her children, not just for appearances, but from the heart, then we might be about to see a whole new side of her. Not just the woman who wants power, but the mother who's finally ready to protect her people instead of just her image. And if Bertha starts moving like that, trust me, no one will see it coming. Meanwhile, George is drowning in the mess of his own making. He spent years building a financial empire with his name stamped on every piece of it, but now, every bank is closing its doors, every newspaper is printing his failure, and the empire, it's crumbling, and he's got no one to blame but himself. Because yes, Clay betrayed him, yes, the leaks were brutal, but George's pride, his refusal to play politics, to cut deals, to accept help is what's killing his legacy, and what's worse, he's realizing it too late. You can see it in his face, in the way he walks into meetings, in the way he looks at Bertha, that fire, that confidence that once defined George Russell. It's flickering. And here's the tragedy, he built everything to give his family a future. But now he might lose that family because of the way he handled it. Because while he was focused on the money, his home was silently breaking, and the irony, the thing he valued the most, control, is the one thing slipping right through his fingers. Now let's turn back to Larry. Because the emotional weight on his shoulders in this episode is crushing. His business opportunity in Arizona, golden. But what good is gold if the people you love don't trust you? He came home with hope in his chest, thinking he'd finally have good news to share, and instead, he walked straight into heartbreak. That letter from Marian didn't just end a relationship, it shattered his sense of stability, and now he's stuck in a cycle of what-ifs. What if he had just told her the truth? What if he had stood up to Ma instead of covering for her? What if he had fought harder? And the worst part, he still wants to fight. You can see it. He hasn't given up, but he doesn't know how to fix it, because this isn't a situation where flowers and apologies will cut it. Marian's not just mad, she's disappointed, and disappointment is a whole different kind of pain. It means she saw something in him, believed in something, and now it's gone. And let me say this, Larry is not a villain. He made a mistake, yes. But this episode does a good job of showing us why he did what he did. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't selfish. It was fear. He was afraid Marian would walk away if she knew the full truth about Ma, and maybe he was right. But that doesn't make the lie any easier to swallow. Because relationships don't thrive on protection, they thrive on trust. And once that's broken, it's a long road back. Now Oscar, I can't even lie. He broke my heart in this episode, watching him stand over John's belongings, holding onto the last physical reminders of the man he loved. It was gut-wrenching. This isn't the same Oscar from season 1. This isn't the schemer who chased wealth and social gain with no shame. This is a man who loved and lost, a man who's finally understanding what it means to be vulnerable. And more importantly, a man who now has nothing left to lose, because if the rumors are true, and John left his fortune to Oscar, then baby, Oscar is about to become very powerful. But here's the twist, he doesn't care about the money, not in the way he used to. Now, it's not about status or security, it's about honoring John, about making sure his death wasn't meaningless. And you better believe that if Oscar even suspects John was targeted, he's coming for whoever's responsible. No hesitation, no fear, just fire. And I don't know about you, but I will be rooting for him every step of the way. And then there's Marian, still trying to hold herself together even as everything inside is breaking. She walks through this episode like a woman stuck between heartbreak and dignity. She's hurting deeply, but she refuses to fall apart, and that's